In this episode, we're going to talk about whether or not your knee should ever pass your toes when you squat.
I want you to have the capability to fully move the way your body was designed to, right?
Drop of a hat, I'll take you back to where my problems lie. In trouble, younger daughter done some shit that made my mama cry. Out to the heavens like I bless him, for I know he's lost. Caught in a trance and this manic depression settled in. Living in the fantasy world.
Hey, what's up everybody? I'm Dr. Horschig from Squat University, and this is episode 14 of the Ask Squat U Show. Hope you guys are having a great week so far. Let's get to today's question.
Afro Eskimo writes, Squat University, my question is, when you squat and your knees go past your toes, doesn't it put too much stress on your knees? It's something I've heard quite often. Many trainers insist always to try to keep the knees behind the toes. Is there any truth to this?
Alright, so this is actually one of the most common questions I get emailed to me on a daily basis. In fact, it's something that even a lot of our medical professionals still have today. Last year, I was speaking to the third-year Doctorate of Physical Therapy students in the class I was teaching at the University of Missouri, and I started off with a simple question. Raise your hand if you think the knee should never pass the toes when you're squatting. Instantly, all their hands shot up. I looked right at them and I said, you're absolutely wrong. This is actually a huge myth. Now, before we get into why it's a huge myth, let's talk about where this probably started, because its origins are probably originating from a well-intentioned physical therapist, medical doctor, or strength and conditioning coach. Let me explain. As a physical therapist, I see a ton of athletes with knee pain. Now, during our initial examination, I ask every single person to show me what their body weight squat looks like. And a number of people with knee pain show something like this. They drive their knees forward as they squat. Now, if they're showing that during the examination, what do you think they're doing when they're squatting a barbell or running and jumping? When they squat, they're probably driving their knees forward first. When they run and jump, they probably have their knees going forward first. Well, what happens is that you're doing two bad things to your body. First, you're pushing your body off balance. Now, whenever we squat or land from a jump, we want, ideally, our center of gravity to remain over the middle of our foot. That means our body's in balance, capable of producing efficient force and power, and handling outside forces. What that means is that, for most people with a body weight movement, our center of gravity is located around our stomach. So if we squat like this, we're balanced. If we squat and our knees go forward, our body is shifting forward, so basically we're off balance when we squat with our knees driving forward at the start of the descent. Now the second thing it does is it puts a ton of shear force on the knee joint itself. Now shear force is the forwards and backwards forces that can act on the knee joint. That can put a lot of harmful forces on different tissues of the knee joint if the body can't handle it correctly. Now, what that means is that the person developed knee pain, at least partially, because of the way they moved. Now, a lot of people will take that and say, hey, I can fix your knee pain. Don't let your knees go past your toes. Now, instantly, that person squatted like this, and that hurt, and they started squatting with a more hip-dominant squat, so they looked like this. Now, because their knees didn't move forward at the start, they didn't have a ton of knee pain. So instantly people go, hey, don't let your knees go past your toes ever. That should fix the problem, right? Well, that's actually not the right thing to do, because all you did was put a Band-Aid on the problem. It wasn't that the person developed knee pain necessarily because the knees were going past the toes, but it was because they were allowing the knees to pass the toes at the wrong time. They actually had a balance issue, not a problem with where their knee joint was. Because eventually, if you want to get all the way down into a squat, those knees have to come forward. So if we went back all the way, now we're balanced. If we wanted to squat all the way down, eventually, those knees have to come forward in order for my body to reach full depth. If I limited that movement of the knees going forward, eventually my chest would have to collapse in order for me to get any deeper into a squat. During a front squat, my knees have to move forward towards and even past my toes in order for my chest to remain upright. This is what it looks like. Here. Now, I'm going to show you what happens if I limit my knees from moving forward past my toes, and I'm going to use a box to limit that so you can actually really see what happens. So the big thing that happened when my knees weren't able to pass my toes in the bottom of the front squat whenever I had the box there was my back had to compensate by rounding more. Your knees need to eventually pass your toes in the bottom of a squat because that allows your hips to sink further down and maintain a more upright chest. So especially if you're doing a high bar back squat or a front squat, it's okay to let those knees move forward past the toes. It's all about when and not if they move forward that counts. So basically, as long as excessive loading, not maxing out every single day, is limited and you use good technique, the knees can and must move forward past the toes in the bottom of a squat in order for your hips to drop all the way down and for you to keep a very upright chest. Strength coach Mike Boyle once wrote, "It's not about as much where the knees go as much as it is about weight distribution and what joint moves first." Remember, the squat is all about starting at the hips. The rest takes care of itself. I hope you guys are enjoying these Ask Squat U shows. It's time for the question of the day. My question of the day is, how often do you squat? I hope you guys are enjoying these Ask Squat U shows. If you are, please share them with your friends and subscribe to my channel. Happy squatting, everyone.
Hometown hero on the road doing shows and sold out arenas. You can call me what you want, but you won't ever slow my dreams up. This is the vision of a dreamer. I seem to